Hello and welcome guys, and welcome to this session of the MCQs. So law and ethics is the paper which we are dealing as of now, and law ethics has got a lot of scope for exploring a lot of MCQs guys, because law is entirely theory based. So the examiner can actually hook up any of the corner of the section and give you a question. So only your mugging up skills will not work at this stage. You really need to understand the law well. You need to grasp the concepts well. You need to grasp the section well. Yes, no need to remember the section numbers of major sections. So that is not required at all. But yes, otherwise you can actually grapple with the sections. You can actually deep dive into the sections to understand what is the section telling you about the entire provision of law, and then after understanding it you will be able to actually perform the MCQs quite well and in a very seamless fashion. Okay, so in the last session we had discussed our MCQs till question number 18. Now let's start question number 81. A stranger to a contract can file. So privity to contract, this is the golden rule which we had studied. Privity of contract. Can file a suit only with the permission of court. A suit if contract is in writing. Cannot file the suit. The correct answer is cannot file the suit. Guys, a stranger to the contract cannot file a suit on either of the parties, but a stranger to the consideration can claim for consideration if he is a beneficiary in a particular contract. So there's a difference between stranger to a contract and stranger to a consideration. There's a difference between these two things. Answer is D, cannot file a suit. Question number 82. Of the following, who is competent to enter into a contract? So out of these people, who is actually competent to enter into the contract? A, minor. B, unsound mind. C, lunatic. D, sound mind. Yes guys, the answer is sound mind. If a person is of a sound mind, is of a reasonable mental capability, then definitely he is eligible to enter into a contract. Question number 83. A minor can be appointed as an agent. So can a minor be appointed as an agent? Of course, yes. He can be appointed as anything. The only problem is that he cannot be held responsible or liable for anything. You can make him PM of India, no problem, but he will not be liable or responsible for the acts which he does. So a minor can be appointed as agent. Yes, it is a very valid appointment and it is good in law. Mr. A delivers a basket of mango to Mr. B, mistaking him to be Mr. C, and Mr. B consumes those mangoes. Hence, what will happen in this case, guys? A, Mr. B is bound to pay compensation to Mr. A for the value of mango. Now Mr. B has consumed, so this act of consumption actually tantamounts to a contract and actually tantamounts to a sale. So A, Mr. B is bound to pay compensation to Mr. A for value of mangoes. B, Mr. B is not bound to pay any compensation as there was no agreement and it's A's fault. C, B is bound to pay the compensation for value of mangoes and damages. D, none of the above. Guys, the correct answer is A. B is bound to pay compensation to Mr. A for the value of mangoes. So why would B consume the mangoes? Only if his intention is to actually purchase those mangoes, then only can he consume that mango. And if he has consumed that mango, it impliedly means that he has actually purchased those mangoes. Question number 85. Agreement of which the consideration is inadequate. So inadequate consideration is void, voidable, valid, none of the above. Answer is valid. So an agreement in which consideration is inadequate, if there is an inadequate consideration, then that agreement is a valid contract. Okay, sir. 86. Mr. A promises in writing to pay time bar debt to Mr. B. So Mr. A in writing has promised Mr. B that he will pay his time bar debt. This is not enforceable, enforceable, C voidable, D none of the above. Guys, it is enforceable. So an agreement to pay time bar debt is an enforceable arrangement, is an enforceable contract. There's no harm, there's no problem in this agreement. This is an enforceable agreement. Okay, sir. 87. When both the parties to an agreement are under mistake as to matter of fact essential to an agreement, the agreement is valid, the agreement is illegal, agreement is voidable, agreement is void. So guys, both the parties in an agreement are under a mistake as to matter of fact essential to an agreement. So this fact is essential to a particular agreement and both the parties are under a mistake with respect to a fact which is essential to the agreement. So guys, this kind of agreement is a void agreement. Answer is D, a void agreement. Such agreement is not enforceable in law and it is a void agreement. Mr. Ajit threatened to commit suicide if his wife did not execute sale deed in favor of his sister. Wife executed the sale deed. This is, what is this? A void contract, voidable contract, enforceable contract, none of the above. Answer is voidable contract. Any contract which has been entered into because of coercion, then that contract is voidable at the option of the aggrieved party. Aggrieved party can choose to rescind this contract and treat this contract as void. So yes, this kind of contract is voidable contract. 89. Under section 2B of the Indian Contract Act, if the person to whom proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to have been A. accepted, B. agreed, C. provisionally agreed, D. tentatively accepted. The answer is accepted. So guys, if a person to whom proposal is made has signified his assent there to the proposal, then that proposal is said to be accepted. That proposal is accepted. It becomes a promise. Okay, sir. Question number 90. An auction sale is complete on the. When is an auction sale complete? Payment of price, delivery of goods, fall of hammer, or say signing of agreement. The answer is fall of hammer. Fall of hammer is the proof that that particular agreement or that particular sale has concluded. We need not sign any agreement. We need not enter into any contract. Nothing of that legal formality is required. If hammer has fallen, then it automatically means that the contract has been entered into. 91. Seller can raise the price by fictitious bids in an auction sale with the help of. So in an auction sale, if you are fictitiously bidding for a particular thing, what is the strategy that you can actually appoint to fictitiously raise the bids? 1. Pretended bidding, B. puffers, C. agent, D. brokers. Guys, the answer is puffers. By using puffers means you can have, the auctioneer can have his own people seated in the auction room and they can raise the price of the auction as against the auctioneer's command. So seller can raise the price by fictitious bids in an auction sale with the help of puffers. Answer is puffers. Okay, sir. 92. Mr. A obtained mobile set from Mr. B by fraud. Mr. A obtained a mobile set from Mr. B by way of a fraud. He did not do it ethically. Mr. A has a voidable title at the option of Mr. B. Naturally. Mr. B could rescind the contract. Mr. A sold the same to Mr. C, who purchased from Mr. A in good faith and without knowledge of fraud by Mr. A and paid for it. So Mr. A obtained mobile phone from Mr. B using fraud. Mr. A sold this phone to Mr. C. Mr. C doesn't know about this fraud which Mr. A has committed towards Mr. B. And Mr. C has honestly paid the money to Mr. A. A. Mr. C has good title to the goods. B. Mr. B has good title. C. Mr. C has no right. D. None of the above. Guys, the answer is Mr. C has good title to the goods. Because Mr. C obtained these goods in good faith, Mr. C was not aware about the fraud which has happened between A and B. So Mr. C has the good title to these goods. But sir, what will happen to Mr. B? Mr. B will be able to recover the amount from A, Mr. A. Mr. B has the right to recover the amount from Mr. A. Okay, sir, got it. Question number 93. Delivery of goods means, what do you mean by delivery of goods? Voluntary transfer of possession, compulsory transfer of possession, exchange of goods, voluntary transfer of ownership. So the correct answer is voluntary transfer of possession. When possession of the goods is passed on from one person to another person, we term it as delivery of goods. So the answer is A. Okay, sir. 94. For a valid contract of sale, delivery may be. So if you want a sale to be valid, if you want a sale to be as per the Contract Act, as per the Sales of Goods Act, then what should it be? How should a sale happen? A. Actual delivery. B. Symbolic delivery. C. Constructed delivery. Sir, all of the above. All these deliveries, all these three deliveries are valid as per the Contract Act, and therefore these contracts are valid contracts. 95. Every instrument payable otherwise than on demand is entitled to days of grace period. So how many days of grace period is every instrument be eligible for? A2, B3, C4, D5. The answer is 3. Guys, 3 days of grace period is eligible for every instrument which is payable on otherwise than on demand. So 3 days are valid days. 96. Inchoate instrument. There's a special kind of instrument called inchoate instrument. Yes, sir. Inchoate instrument is an instrument incomplete in some respect. B. It is an ambiguous instrument. C. A clean bill. D. Drawn conditionally on collateral security. Guys, the correct answer is it is an instrument which is incomplete in some respect. There's something missing in it. There is some vital element which is missing in it. That instruments are known as inchoate instruments as per the Negotiable Instrument Act. 97. Which of the following is not a negotiable instrument as per the Negotiable Instrument Act? So as per the Negotiable Instrument Act, which of the following instruments are not negotiable instrument? Okay, sir. Let's see the options. Bill of exchange, delivery note, check, share certificate. Guys, the right answer is share certificate. No, share certificate is not a negotiable instrument. However, these three are negotiable instruments. Question number 98. How many parties are involved in a bill of exchange? A. 2, B. 3, C. 4, D. 5. Answer is 3. There are 3 parties who are usually involved in bill of exchange. One is the drawer, one is the drawee, and the third one is, you guess which is the third one? Payee. Payee may be different in case of a bills of exchange, and more often than not, payee is different in bills of exchange. So there are 3 parties who are involved in bills of exchange. So the answer is B. 3. 99. A void agreement is one which is forbidden by law, which is enforceable at the option of one of the parties, which is not enforceable by law, D. Enforceable by law. So the answer is C, which is not enforceable by the parties. That agreement is void. Question number 100. A contract is formed when the acceptor. So which act of the acceptor will construct a contract? A contract is formed when the acceptor has done something to signify his intention. Okay. Makes his mind to do so, reads the offer, all of the above. Guys, the right answer is that when he has indicated that he is under a mental thought of accepting the offer. When he's indicated that he will accept the offer, then is an acceptor entered into a contract, entered into a valid contract. So the answer is A, has done something to signify his intention. Okay, sir. 101. Express offers and acceptance may be proved by the agreement between the parties, but implied offers can be proved only by. So the express offers may be proved by the agreement between the parties, but implied offers can be proved only by. What is the mode of acceptance of the implied offers, guys? The words, the conduct, circumstantial evidence, both B and C. So how can you prove the implied offer? Because there are no words, there are no spoken words. Guys, the 2 ways you can prove the implied offer are conduct and circumstantial evidence. So the correct answer is both B and C. So it is through conduct that you can prove that yes, this person has impliedly offered me, and it is through evidence also that you can prove that this person had offered me, because there are no words, so there is no question of words being involved in the implied offer. 102. Section 4 and 5 of the Indian Contract Act provide for communication of offer and acceptance and revocation thereof. In this relation, which one of the following is not correct? You have to identify the incorrect statement. Communication of offer is complete when it reaches the offer. Absolutely correct, guys. Offer communication is complete only when it reaches the offeree. Revocation of acceptance is complete when acceptance is posted in favor of the proposer. So whenever the revocation is final, when it is posted in favor of the proposer. C. A proposal may be revoked anytime before communication of the acceptance. So this is also true. Acceptance may be revoked anytime before communication of the acceptance. Acceptance can be revoked anytime before communication of the acceptance. So acceptance may be revoked anytime before communication of acceptance. This is also right. So guys, the wrong answer is B. Revocation of acceptance is complete when acceptance is posted in favor of the proposer. Guys, revocation is complete anytime before when the acceptance reaches the proposer. Revocation can only be complete when the revocation reaches the proposer, not when it is posted to the proposer. So the incorrect answer is B. B is the incorrect statement. 103. Consider the following statements. You have to consider the following statements. Consideration is A. A motive of any promise, a price for any promise, only a moral obligation, something of value in eyes of law. A. Option A, 1, 2 and 3 are correct. Option B, 1 and 4 are correct. Option C, 2 and 4 are correct. Option D, 3 alone is correct. So let's see what is the correct answer, correct option. The correct option is, guys, 2 is correct. A price for any promise. No, it's not a moral obligation. And 4 is correct. So 2 is correct and 4 is correct. So the correct answer is C. 2 and 4 are correct. Okay, sir. 104. Two persons have the capacity to contract if both are not of unsound mind. Yes, absolutely. If none is disqualified from contracting by law. Yes, absolutely. If both have attained maturity. Yes, absolutely. So the correct answer is D. All of the above are correct. Correct answer is D. 105. Which of the following types of persons are not disqualified from contracting? A. Foreign sovereigns. B. Alien armies. C. Convicts. None of the above. Guys, none of the above, because none of them are disqualified. Not disqualified from contracting. So none of them are not disqualified from contracting. All of them are disqualified from contracting. All of them are disqualified from contracting. So the answer is D. None of the above. 106. A agrees to sell to B 100 tons of oil. So A has committed B that A will sell 100 tons of oil to B. There is nothing whatever to show what kind of oil was intended. The agreement is, so the object of the agreement was not ascertained. The agreement is valid, void for uncertainty. C, voidable. D, illegal. Guys, the answer is B, void for uncertainty. The agreement is void because the object of the agreement was not ascertained, was not definite. 107. A promised B to obtain an employment for him in a public office. B promised to pay rupees 2000 to A for this. B gets a job through A but refuses to pay the money. So B did not pay the money to A. A challenges B's appointment on the ground of non-payment of money. B sue B for rupees 2000. D, C, do nothing. D, A, both A and B. The answer is C. Guys, A can do nothing. This contract of obtaining some job using some source or some approach is definitely not favorable to public policy. So A can do nothing. Question number 108. Which one of the following is not characteristics of a contingent contract? You have to tell which one of the following is not a contingent contract. A. Performance depends on future event. This is a contingent contract. B. Event must be uncertain. The event must be collateral to the contract. There must be reciprocal promises. The correct answer is D. Guys, there is no requirement of reciprocal promises in a contingent contract. Okay, sir. Question number 109. A gives a recognizance binding him in a penalty of rupees 500 to appear in the court on a certain day. He forfeits his recognizance. So A gives a recognition binding him to pay penalty of 500 to appear in court on a certain day, but he forfeits his recognizance. He is A. liable to pay the whole penalty. B. he is not liable to pay the penalty. C. he is liable to pay partially. D. none of the above. The answer is A. he is liable to pay the whole penalty. Guys, when he was required to pay the penalty to the court, he is bound still, even still after recognizance is rescinded, even then he is bound to pay penalty of 500 rupees to the court. 110. Agreement by way of wager. Wager means where betting is involved. Agreement by way of wager are valid and enforceable by law. Void, voidable at the option of party. Illegal, the correct answer is void. Any wagering agreement is void ab initio. Question 111. A valid tender or offer for performance must be A. made at proper time, of course. Made at proper place, of course. Made to the proper person, of course. So the answer is all of the above. So guys, a valid tender or a valid offer of performance, so when you are committing someone to do the performance, then it should be at the right time, at the right place, and to the proper person. Of course, this should be there. So all of the above is the correct answer. 112. A. dealing in baby foods sends samples by train for being exhibited at a consumer products show, which fact was made known to railway companies. The goods reached the destination after the show was over. A. sued railway company for damages. A. will be entitled to. Now the railway company has not fulfilled their obligation, and they have not sent the train on time. What are the remedies which are available to A? Ordinary damages, no damages, exemplary damages, or special damages. Guys, A is entitled to special damages. A will be entitled to special damages. Okay, sir. 113. Goods means. What do you mean by goods? Basically, definition of goods. Every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money. Some kind of immovable property only. Every kind of movable property, including actionable claim, both A and B. The answer is A. Every kind of movable property. In fact, guys, immovable property actually doesn't form a part of goods as per the Sales of Goods Act. Okay, sir. 114. Future goods can be subject matter of sale, cannot be subject matter of sale, sometimes may be subject matter of sale, depends on circumstances. Guys, the answer is can be subject matter of sale. So Indian law permits to create a contract with respect to future goods, goods which are not existing as of now. They will grow, or they will be made, or they will be produced in the future. Such goods are can be subject to sales provisions. 115. The doctrine of caveat emptor is not applicable. A. in case of sale under patent name. B. in case of sale under the trade name. C. where seller is guilty of fraud. D. where the buyer relies on the skill and judgment of the seller. So guys, the correct answer is C, where the seller is guilty of fraud. Caveat emptor is not applicable. Caveat emptor means let the Buyer beware. Buyer should be very vigile. Buyer should be in knowledge of his rights. He should check the goods carefully. But in case where seller is guilty of fraud, whether seller has sold using some fraudulent technique, there guys, caveat emptor is not applicable, and seller will be bound to pay the damages and bound to pay whatever has been lost of the buyer. Okay, sir. 116. Nemo dat quod non habet means no one is greater than God. None can give who does not himself possess. Everyone can give everything he has. Everyone is bound by his habits. So the correct answer is B. So guys, a true ownership can be transferred only by the owner of the good. No one else can give you correct ownership. Okay, sir. So the answer is B. 117. Unpaid seller can exercise his right of withholding of delivery of goods. So an unpaid seller can exercise his rights of withholding the goods even when property in goods has passed to the buyer. So when property of goods is passed to the buyer, then unpaid seller can exercise his rights. Only when property in goods has not passed to the buyer, either A or B, neither A or B. The answer is A. Even when the property of goods is passed to the buyer. So even when the property of goods is passed, an unpaid seller can withhold the delivery of the goods. Delivery, so in transit these goods are there. The unpaid seller can stop the goods which are being sent to the buyer. 118. Where the sale is not notified to be subject to a right to bid on behalf of the seller, and the auctioneer knowingly takes any bid from the seller or any such person, the sale shall be treated by the buyer as A. Unlawful, illegal, immoral, fraudulent. The answer is fraudulent. So what is happening is, where the sale is not notified, be subject to right to bid on behalf of the seller. So a good is there for which no bidding can happen except for the seller or his authorized people. But the people who are coming to buy this product are not made aware of this particular fact. Then what will happen? We'll consider that this particular sale shall be undertaken using fraudulent means. So the correct answer is D. 119. When a check is payable across the counter of the bank, so when you present the check across the counter of your bank, then it is a OTC contract, open check, cross-dressed, restricted check. Guys, this is open check. Naturally, if the issuer of the check has just written self on the top or has left it blank, then guys, it is an open check. Anyone who is in possession of check can get it encashed. Question number 120. Law of contract is the whole of obligation. B is whole of law of agreements. C deals with only such legal obligations which arise from the agreement. D deals with social agreement. So the right answer is C. Guys, the law of contract is dealing with only such legal obligation which arise from the agreement. So agreement is the driving force behind the law of contract. Okay, sir, we got it. Question number 121. For an acceptance to be valid, so what will constitute a valid acceptance, guys? It must be partial and unqualified, absolute and unqualified. So this is the correct answer, guys. The acceptance should be absolute and it should be unqualified. Partial and unqualified, absolute and qualified. All the answers are wrong. Question 122. If the communication is made by an unauthorized person, it does not result in a contract, agreement, offer, consideration. So guys, the right answer is agreement. Guys, agreement comes before contract. So whenever you have a choice between contract and agreement, you should always choose agreement. I understand that the statement might be applicable on the contracts as well, but since agreements presupposes a contract, is a previous step of a contract, so guys, agreement will be taken as the right answer and the final answer. If the communication is made by an unauthorized person, it does not result in an agreement. Next, 123. An offer does not lapse if. So what are the situation where offer does not lapse? A. Offerer dies before Acceptance. Number 2, offeree dies before acceptance. Number C, acceptance is made by offeree in ignorance of death of the offerer. Number 4, acceptance is made by offeree with knowledge of the death of the offerer. So guys, if the offer is accepted without the knowledge that the offerer is no more, then guys that particular offer, that particular acceptance is there and that offer does not lapse. 124. An agreement without consideration is void. Under which section? You need to quote the section. Under which section is the agreement declared void? Guys, answer is none of the clauses of section 25. So it's not 1, 2, 3. All the 3 sections are not there. Section 25 is containing consideration, void consideration, but not under these sections. 125. An agreement without consideration is void except in case of compensation for. So the golden principle is no compensation, no agreement, but there are certain exceptions to it. Exception number 1, voluntary services rendered. Guys, there is no need of consideration in a voluntary service. So you go to temple and just provide your seva to temple or the gurudwaras which are there, then those are voluntary services and they do not count for a valid consideration or compensation. Which one of the following is not competent to contract? You need to tell which one of the following is not a player in the contract. A, minor. B, person of unsound mind. C, person who has disqualified from the contract by some law. D, all of the above. The correct answer is D, all of the above. So due to person being non-eligible for a contract, this kind of person cannot be entered into contract. So all of the above. Active concealment of fact. So you have concealed a fact and that too actively, which means it's not that you were not aware of that fact. You have concealed the fact. Which one of the following? A, misrepresentation. B, undue influence. C, fraud. D, mistake. So guys, the correct answer is C, fraud. So if you have some knowledge about the goods and you are not giving that knowledge to the buyer, then the terminology is known as fraud. But only if it is active concealment and not passive concealment. Passive concealment means you did not highlight the defects in the goods when the purchaser came to your office to purchase the goods. You did not highlight over that point, guys, but you are not expected to highlight at that point in time. You are not a person who is going to say bad things about his own things. You will not do it. So it will tantamount to fraud if active concealment happens. 128. The validity of contract is not affected by. So what are the conditions in which validity of contract will not affected? Mistake of law, mistake of Indian law, misrepresentation, fraud. Sir, the correct answer is mistake of law. So if any mistake of law happens, Indian law happens, then the validity of the contract is not affected. 129. A promises to B to pay rupees 100 if it rains on Monday, and B promises to pay 100 if it does not rain on Monday. This agreement is. So now what kind of agreement would you term it as? So guys, this kind of contract is a wagering contract. Here you are committing to perform certain activities on a future event which is uncertain but which is also non-related to your particular business. So this particular contract is known as a wagering contract. 130. A borrows from B rupees 500 to bet with C. Can B recover the amount of his loan? Can B say that, oh, A has stolen my scarf and I want the scarf back? So if A borrows from B to bet with C, can B recover the amount of his loan? Let's see the answers. Yes, the agreement between them is collateral to a wagering contract and hence enforceable. Yes, the agreement is not opposed to public property. No, the agreement is a voidable agreement and can be avoided by A. No, the guarantee is wagering agreement, and under section 23 and 23 and 24, the contract is a valid contract. So the correct answer is D, it is a valid contract and it will be enforceable. So B can recover its amount from the both the parties. So question number 131. Which of the following statements is true in connection with a contingent contract? So guys, you need to tell which of the following statement is correct with respect to contingent contract. Okay, sir. 1. The collateral event is a contingent. B. The collateral event may or may not be uncertain. C. The contingency even may be mere will of the promisor. D. The main event should be contingent. Guys, the answer is the collateral event should be considered contingent. Of course, it should be uncertain and not it should not be certain. It should be uncertain. The contingency should not depend on mere will of the promisor. That is an important aspect because then it won't be considered as an uncertain event. Next, 132. Quasi contract. Quasi contract is a contract which is a contract as per the force of law. So quasi contract are A. Not contracts in the real sense of word. B. Relations which create certain obligations resembling those created by a contract. C. Implied contract. D. Unenforceable contract. So the right answer is B. Relations which resembles being a contract, but actually they lack some of the essential ingredients of the contract. In that case, those contracts are known as quasi contracts. They are like contracts. They are enforceable by law. Law has given them permission to be enforceable, but they are not exactly contracts. 133. If performance of a contract becomes impossible because the subject matter has ceased to exist. So the subject matter has ceased to exist, so the performance becomes impossible. In this case, then A. Both parties are liable. B. Neither parties are liable. Only offerer is liable. Only acceptor is liable. Guys, the answer is neither parties are liable to such a contract where the subject matter has ceased to exist. Then we cannot fix liability on one of the parties. Yes, sir. Very true. 134. A valid contract of sale includes an agreement to sell. B. It does not include an agreement to sell. C. Includes hire purchase contract. D. Includes contract of work and labor. So guys, a contract of sale includes an agreement to sell. So definitely there has to be some commitment to sell certain thing at a later point in time, and that particular agreement is known as the contract of sale, which contains an element of agreement to sell. There is an agreement that I will sell this particular thing in future. Future may be 1 hour hence, 2 hour hence, or 3 hour hence, anything. Okay, sir. Then 135. Transfer of documents of title to the goods sold to the buyer amounts to A. Actual delivery. B. Symbolic delivery. C. Constructive delivery. Guys, the answer is B. Symbolic delivery. So if you transfer the documents of title to a person, then it implies that you have actually transferred the goods. It is symbolic. It symbolizes that you have transferred the goods. So it is a symbolic delivery. 136. Right of stoppage in transit can be exercised by unpaid seller. So when the goods are in transit, unpaid seller has the right to stop them and recall them back. Where the unpaid seller has not been paid, remember. So which of the following options are correct? Where he has lost his right of lien. Right of lien is the right of holding possession of that particular property. Still enjoys his right of lien. Either A or B, neither A or B. Answer is B. Where the unpaid seller still has right to lien, right to hold possession of that particular good. At that point in time, we will say that right of stoppage in transit can be exercised by the unpaid seller. 137. The Sales of Goods Act 1930 governs the transfer of property in what kind of property? Movable property, immovable property, both movable, immovable, all type of property. Answer is A. Only and only movable property. Yes, sir. 138. Property in goods in sale of goods means, what do you mean by property in goods? Ownership, possession, asset in goods, custody of goods. Correct answer is ownership in goods. Property, if someone holds property, that means he holds ownership of those goods. Okay, sir. 139. Stoppage in transit, right of stoppage in transit may be exercised by an unpaid seller by taking actual possession of goods, B. giving notice of his claim to carrier or bailee who holds the goods, either A or B, both A or B. Guys, either of the two can be exercised by an unpaid seller if he wants to exercise his rights of stoppage of goods. He can take the actual possession of the goods back. He can do that. He can also notify the carrier or the bailee that he should call his goods back. Both of the modes of stoppage in transit can be exercised by an unpaid seller. Yes, sir. 140. The term negotiable instrument is defined in the Negotiable Instrument Act under which section is the negotiable instrument defined, guys? It is defined under section B. And it is defined under section 13. Answer is B. Do you remember what is the definition of negotiable instrument which has been defined under section B? Guys, it's an exhaustive definition where 3 kinds of negotiable instrument has been listed. There's no specific definition of negotiable instrument. It just says that negotiable instrument includes bill of exchange, promissory notes, and any kinds of check. So this is how negotiable instrument has been defined in the section. Okay, sir. 141. The Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 came into force on. So when does this act came into force? 1881 Act, Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay, the answer is 9 December 1881, 19 December 1881, 1st March 1882. None of the above. Guys, the act was implemented in the next year, 1st March 1882. No, it was not implemented in 1881. It was implemented in the next year, 1882. 142. A promisor must be in writing. Promissory note must be in writing, unconditional, signed by the maker, all of the above. Of course, all of the above. Promissory note has to be in writing, it has to be unconditional, it has to be signed by the maker. All these 3 conditions should be satisfied to make a valid promissory note. So the answer is all of the above. Answer is D. So yes, guys, this was our MCQ session of today, and we have been able to complete quite a lot of MCQs in today's session. I hope you found this session useful. We'll be meeting in our next session with a different set of MCQs. Till that time, all the very best and happy studying.